Hi everybody, did you miss me? I know the international break was a very long time, but I also on my end promised that Golden Generations thing that I'm still working on, but unfortunately I had some big major computer malfunctions. You can see there's a whole computer missing right in front of me. So instead I had to go back to the drawing board, take a few days off, borrow my wife's laptop, and instead have this match review for you for Barcelona's 3-1 victory over Valencia. Let's get to the 5 headlines now. And if all that housekeeping bored you, well, I start with the first headline before the match even happened, which is a little bit more boring, but so essential and crucial to where the club is at right now, and that is the General Assembly that took place. Due to some questionable scheduling, Juan Laporta suspended the AGM after just 2 of the 5 votes took place that were set to take place during that 5-hour debate. What did get voted on? The validation of the 2020-21 accounts, showing a €481 million loss. The other vote was for the 2021-22 budget, the current season, which is banking on a €765 million income. But what wasn't voted on? The €1.5 billion loan needed for S by Barça, permission to sell up to 49% of Barça studios, and finally, the statute which says that a board must resign if the club runs at a loss for 2 seasons in a row, which it obviously will. Never fear though, another meeting has to be scheduled in the next 15 days so those other 3 pieces of business can be voted on. So no worries, updates will be coming shortly. Alright, took long enough, let's get into the actual headlines from this game. So headline number 2 from that win over Valencia is all about Ansu Fati getting his first start in over a year. I was a bit surprised to see Ansu start this game. I figured that Ronald Koeman would want him to definitely start against Dinamo Kiev, which I think is a bit more must-win than this one was. And I also figured he'd start in El Clasico just because you don't want to get caught on your heels out of the gate by your rivals. But I feel like Koeman said this is the one that's going to start that momentum. This is the one that's going to start the train. So we need our number 10, and who is clearly Barcelona's best player, on the field to begin this game. And you could tell that the 18-year-old, just for 2 more weeks, was up to it. Because in the second minute, he goes right at Fekir, and that was a matchup that Fekir knew he was going to lose for much of the evening until Ansu came out in the 58th minute. And all that positive energy was leading to something, because it only took him 13 minutes, this coming after Valencia got the opener, but Ansu Fati answered quite well, a combination with Memphis Depay, and you don't hit a ball much better unless you're Ansu Fati against Levante 2 weeks ago, the ball that he hit against Valencia that found the back of the net to beat Silesen. It was a really good goal by Ansu Fati, a good build-up, and as I've said many times before, Barcelona will go as far as the combination of Memphis and Ansu Fati can take them with a little bit of help from the defense, but we'll get to that headline later. Fun fact, Ansu Fati has scored in 8 La Liga games as a starter, and he scored Barcelona's opening goal in each of those contests. Headline number 3, conceding the opener. Barcelona has been linked with Gaia, Valencia's left back, for quite a few transfer windows in a row now, and yet he'd be a great replacement for Jordi Alba as evidenced by that opening goal. But the more worrying sign is that Barcelona has been susceptible to 2 particular types of goals this year. Early goals and goals off set pieces, both of which this goal was. It started on a corner, bounced out to Gaia, and I guess Gavi was in the area, but I think he was either picked or that wasn't his man, and then a combination of Eric Garcia, Gerard Piqué, Frankie de Jong, Jordi Alba, a bunch of Barcelona players were just too slow on the closeout. It's a nice finish by Gaia too, but Barcelona at home when the Camp Nou is supposed to be at full capacity at this point, and clearly obviously it wasn't just yet, and that's the topic for another time, but in theory to return to full capacity, to have the opening goal like that, it takes a lot of wind out of your sails. Fortunately, Barcelona's number 10 in Ansu Fati, as I already mentioned, was able to flip the switch. Headline number 4. Ansu Fati getting goals means Memphis Depay getting goals. I don't want to harp on the point of combination, but it was the thing that stood out to me between Barcelona getting 3 points and Barcelona not getting any points in this game. When Ansu's on the field, and it did also help on the other side that Serginho Dest was able to push so far forward as a right winger. Barcelona were basically playing a 4-3-3 for most of the match with Sergio Roberto as a right back / that extra defensive midfielder help. They call it inverted right back, if you will. And then Dest coming back to defend to make it almost 5 at the back at times for Barcelona. That didn't happen until the second half, as Barcelona were usually on the front foot for much of the first 45 minutes. But you clearly see that Barcelona are on the front foot because they're now using the width of the field. I know people are really going to hate this idea, but Koeman was making the excuse for a long time that once Barcelona got some of their wingers back in Ansu, in Dembélé, that the field would open up and things were going to look a little bit better. And since Ansu Fati came back, they have looked a little bit better. And not to say that Koeman shouldn't have done more with what he had before Ansu came back, It's nice to see this team playing well, both vertically using the field and horizontally using the field, switching it when they need to and combining in tight spaces in the middle of the field after using that width. And Memphis getting his PK goal was a direct result of Ansu Fati being on the field. It's questionable whether or not that was a penalty by Gaia, the other goal scorer, on Ansu, but doesn't matter. Let's just talk about the PK from Memphis Depay, because that's a play that has a little bit of the pressure taken off him by Ansu. You could tell with that PK that Memphis said, I'm going to get a goal in this game too. It was very little run-up, and the power that he can produce, that we know he can produce in the bottom half of that body, again, a little run-up, and then so powerful past Silesen, no goalkeeper in the world is going to get that. And a little unrelated, because Ansu came off to be replaced by Coutinho, Memphis and Dest didn't have the best games. Actually, Dest, he might have actually had a really good game. I'm not sure. I have to look back at the tape. But that goal, the third one, was due to them and Yunus Musa ball watching to the upteenth degree so that Coutinho was wide open to score the third goal. Coutinho did not have a good day coming on for Ansu. Wing play was vital to Barcelona getting the 3 points at home today. And when Coutinho came on, that all but ended. He passed the ball backwards, didn't really influence the game much, and put Barcelona defending on their heels, which is not the ideal place that Barcelona want to be. And that leads us into headline number 5. Headline 5 is Barca's defense without Ronald Araujo. As I've discussed on the pod a bunch, Araujo had probably been Barcelona's most important player this season. Because of the results they did get, they kind of limped over the finish line, and the Uruguayan defender was a big part of helping them get there. Gerard Piqué was not good today. Eric Garcia, I thought, had a really good bounce-back game. He was undressed once by Carlos Soler, who has easily been Valencia's most important influential player this year, so you take that one mulligan, and it also didn't lead to a goal. So nothing Eric Garcia did today led to a yellow card or a goal. It's a positive, it's a success for the 20-year-old. Piqué, meanwhile, though, not a great day at the office for him. While none of his mistakes led to goals, he was undressed a bit too many times for me, turned around by Guedes just a few too many times in the middle of the field, and didn't keep his markers where they needed to be. And there were times when you did see the cracks of that defense. I know that Gabi is a bit too ambitious. In his 8 appearances, he does have 4 yellow cards. Not a great record for Gabi so far. The next one might be red, or you might have a game where he gets 2 yellows, or he's not going to have that second yellow to take when the other team is counterattacking and he's just supposed to take that professional foul. He's not going to have a yellow left because that'll be a red card. But I do think some of Gabi's fouls and yellow cards do come because that defense is not always where it needs to be. Busquets was kind of where he needed to be today. Roberto was kind of where he needed to be today. And I thought De Jong had a pretty good day defensively. When he plays in that position closer to Busquets, he can't do as much offensively, which I think is fine when you have Ansu and Memphis up top and you're able to combine through Gabi and the wings in Alba and Dest and play basically outside in instead of having to guide everything through the middle up through De Jong. But going back to that Coutinho point, that was the worry, that when he came on, Barca basically became a 5-4-1, or a 3-5-2 if you want to say that Coutinho was the other one up top. But he really wasn't. Either way, it's not the ideal shape you want to see this team in. Busquets is better when he can defend on the front foot, and the way Barca turned the ball over in their own half and invited Valencia pressure in the last 30 minutes wasn't my favorite way to end a match. I did like the Nico Gonzalez and Mingueza subs for Gabi and Roberto. It better allowed players to play where they're feeling more natural. If you're going to play 3 at the back, Mingueza makes a lot more sense. And Nico didn't have a yellow, so it was time for Gabi to come off. And I also think that Nico has the positional sense, defensively at least, to play alongside De Jong and Busquets, and it doesn't become redundant. So I was happy with those 2 subs, and I actually think the youngsters fortified that lineup. So in conclusion, a 3-1 victory over Valencia. There are a few bad things to talk about that we'll get to on the pod, but there's a lot of positive too. We're going to hit all of that on the podcast tomorrow. It's supposed to be Barcelona, who I think was at the game today. And while you have the podcast in your ears, make sure you give this video a like, subscribe, and hit that bell for notifications. And as always, until next time, Forza Barça.